we had a viewer, I think last week, ask us about if we thought this was an option. And granted, I didn't, and I don't know how much I think it's going to be. Actually, I mean, I'm kind of feeling good about it for a couple of reasons we'll get into. But when you get new information, you're free to change your opinion. I know some people like to talk about when you change opinions, you're flip flopping, whatever. Always change your mind when you get new information. And from what we heard him say at Media Day, he was asked, and I'll read out his answer, obviously there's a lot of talk about Oklahoma and his connections here and the coaching he did at Oklahoma State. Is there any truth to that? What do you have to say about that? Now, if you remember, and I think Thune pointed this out on his show, and then I listened to Stoy and them too talk about it a little bit. Back when Dan Lanning was asked about the Alabama job, and I couldn't find the clip either, but I remember him being so decisive about him saying, no, I'm not going to take that. I want to be at Oregon. I want to finish my career here. I'm not going to be at Alabama, basically. It was as adamant as Lincoln Riley was. He wasn't going to be the LSU coach. Now, Dan Lanning didn't have another team in his back pocket either, but it was that adamant, basically. And then you look at how Zach Alley answered the question when he was asked about West Virginia. Now, Zach Alley also said, I'm excited for the talent we have returning, insinuating that he's going to be a part of that group.
Part of and us.
Yeah, and us.
Yeah.
Jim Knowles says, so basically he's like, hey, Jim, what do you have to say of these, these rumors that are going around? Are they true or whatnot? And he says, look, beat Notre Dame. That's all I'm focused on. He said, these things happen, I guess, when you have success. Players are making plays. My job is to put them in the best position. These things come up when you do well. I mean, I don't know what even that answers. That wasn't the question asked. How do you get players to do, what is your job as a DC?
I read that answer and I was like, that can't be his reply, right? Because that was
it's like a non-answer answer.
And maybe what he was saying is when you have success, other schools are going to come calling, but I'm just worried about beating Notre Dame. Is he very loquacious? Like, is he very good with words?
Loquacious? Yeah. His locution. I don't know. I don't believe so. I don't think he's known for being some.
Just didn't know if sometimes people just aren't good with answering questions in general. So I don't know if he maybe is like notorious for being vague or just not putting together the best syntax when it comes to a sentence. But no, it was weird.
My thing is, like, if I know I'm not going to go anywhere and I know that I'm happy where I'm at, I'm just going to say, look, I appreciate. Like, it's always an honor to be talked about with different universities. Obviously, the ones with the story to the career is Oklahoma, but I'm totally happy where I am. I have no reason to want to go to Oklahoma or another university.
Right.
I'm not interested in that. But I appreciate them reaching out or even being considered for another job like that.
But then maybe a vagueness still gives you the leverage you would need for even just staying where you are, but getting a raise. Not that I think that Ohio State's, not paying him well, but
I think he's the highest paid assistant in the country. Almost.
Yeah,
I mean, he's getting.
That's what I'm saying. So I was like, I don't know how much leverage you need when you're already like number one, essentially. But
so at Ohio, so obviously, if you can get him, obviously you want him. It'd be a great hire. I'm trying to think the best way to go about my thoughts on him coming here and what I think it actually does for BV. For me, outside of it just being purely personal, for those who don't know, he has a wife or fiance that lives in Oklahoma. He has family, or his kids go to Oklahoma schools, and there's just a belief that I think he's almost 60. He's closer to retirement, and there's a belief that he wants to start settling down and be more around his family as he gets older and as they enter the high school years, which is completely understandable. You can't fault him for that.
60 and has kids in school?
I believe so, yeah. I believe one of his kids is about to play basketball at Oklahoma school. I don't want to say which one.
Nice.
But there are, like, if I am looking at hiring a DC, if I'm BV, right, he really hasn't been able to hire one yet that I feel like he believes both on an experience level and an intellectual level.
Ouch.
I mean that in football, and I don't mean that in terms of like IQ or whatever. I'm saying on an intellectual understanding defenses and on an experience level that he trusts as much as he trusts himself yet. I believe there's maybe 3 coaches out there. I think Jim Knowles is one of those 3. I think Zach Alley, as talented as he is and the potential that he has, he doesn't have the experience yet for BV to just simply say, "Hey, I'm running the team. You are running the defense. I don't want to hear about I'm trusting you wholly." I think he knew with Zach, there's still a little bit of that. I'm watching over you. I'm going to be here to give you advice, and I want to not not sign off on every game plan, but just kind of be the mentor, be there whenever be there for you. Well, with Jim Knowles, I think he can truly say, "Hey Jim, give me the game plan. Let me know what you're doing. Other than that, you run it. I trust you enough to run it." And he can truly focus on being a head coach if that's what he wants.
Yeah.
I don't know. The money's not an issue. I don't think for the Oklahoma. They'll be able to get the funds, and I know that they've already. I believe they already have the funds established to hire him if they go that route. They are. He gets I think around 3.4-ish, 3.5. He got a bonus for winning the national championship at Ohio State. But we got. I mean, there are reasons why you can understand the move. Money is the easiest. Notre Dame just signed their defensive coordinator, Al Golden, for like $2 to $3 million. Clemson's DC just got over $2 million, and I mean Oklahoma's paying Alex Grinch $1.8 million. So it's not like we can't afford a defensive coordinator if we want one. You have to ask, does the move for him and for BV make a difference enough to where you're you're comfortable handing over the defense, and also, are you comfortable? How does when they butt heads, who gets the final say there? Because if you're Jim Knowles, and I'm going to let you go, and I'm on a soapbox, and I'll read off the stats after this. But
by all means, continue.
But if you're Jim Knowles, it's, do I want to go somewhere where I know I have a coach that is as successful as I've been as a defensive coordinator, that has the name that I have as a defensive coordinator? Do I think that I want to go somewhere where if I don't see eye to eye with him, is he going to use I'm the head coach, you're going to do what I want to do, and you're going to and if you don't want to do that, you don't have to be here. Maybe you won't. I don't think BV would want to do that. But you never know, and that's a risk for him. And for me, I would really be curious. And I think for Jim, there are obviously other reasons to come. But if I'm Jim, I'm looking at I'm currently at Ohio State. It's a great university. I got a lot of tradition, national exposure. Obviously, they just won the national championship. I'm getting praise from everyone. I mean, people almost ubiquitously consider me one of the top, if not the top, defensive coordinators. Oklahoma, I can go to Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma has the benefit of a couple things. One, they're in the SEC, where he hadn't at least been at DC level yet. He has been at the Big 12. He has been at the Big 10. They also are a very young defense with a lot of returning talent. Mm-hmm. Where if you're Ohio State, they're losing some of their guys that they had that were big name players. So if Knowles, you get to come to Oklahoma, closer to home with family, and where your friends are, or where your family is at least. You have a young defense, and you have a school that is especially I think a head coach that would support that move and give you the free reign, if you will, that I think he wants as a DC. That's considerations I would make if I'm going to make that move. If you're OU, if he wants to come here, I think you're crazy not to hire him. He's too talented of a coach. He's been successful everywhere.
Right. Which, speaking of which, we do have a super chat.
Oh,
says,
sorry.
Is Knowles worth paying over $3 million to be the DC?
What do you think? I've talked way too much. You go ahead.
What do I mean?
I can keep going if you want.
I don't know where we're at financially.
Assume like that's a lot of money, but not going to kill us. But
why not? We just got imagine that Ben Arbuckle on one side of the ball, who we think will be pretty good, based on how he's done so far, and then you have Jim Knowles on the other side of the ball with as much talent as we are bringing back on the defense. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that has the potential to be dangerous. And if you're Brent Venables, when this could be a year, this probably is a year you're coaching for your job. Mm-hmm. You need all the support that you can get.
Absolutely.
And all the knowledge, just everything that I think it'd be worth it. Especially when we've had Ted Roof. Okay, then we have Zach Alley. It's just been a revolving door. I was realized why did I say that with an accent? Revolving door. So, you can get someone more established. You had mentioned that, the family being here and, having a young defense. Part of, maybe you mentioned it too. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes
you're fine.
Zone out because I start trying to go through my own thoughts. But did you mention that he was an OU fan during his life?
I did not, but yeah, I'll let you go into that. Yeah.
Okay, so apparently he grew up an OU fan, has always been an OU fan. So for me, as someone where intrinsic value is huge, we grew up OU fans. That could be, if he is ready to settle down and he's ready to be more present at home or just be home, why I mean, that could be like the you've already checked it off. We got a natty. I'm checking off that I'm one of the best defensive minds that there is right now. Why not check off your quote unquote dream job if that's the case? I'm not speaking words into it. I'm just saying for us, I know working for the University of Oklahoma would be like a dream job essentially. It's just I feel like for most people in the chat, if you were offered something in Oklahoma sports, you would all love to work there. And so that could be something that he's thinking as well, just to throw out there. Again, never talked to him. I don't know. But that's just where I think of intrinsically. Because I know for us, like when we got the opportunities to go to the University of Oklahoma, it was a no-brainer for us because we wanted that intrinsic value. To see that degree that had the University of Oklahoma on it meant more to us than another university.
Right.
Sorry to those universities. It's just how we were raised. But I don't know. It's an interesting development. Chad was very excited when he came, and he's like, "You remember when I said there's no way this is happening? There's nothing. Like, just let it go." He's like, "Apparently, there's smoke."
Yeah, it sounds wild, but yeah, here's how good Jim Knowles is as a defensive coordinator. So he gets to Ohio State in 2020. Well, he gets there in 2022, but
he gets to the real issue.
Well done. Ohio State rankings in yards allowed per game, right? In 2020, they were 60th. 2021, they were 59th. 2022, he arrives there, they go to 14th. 2023, they go to 3rd, and this year in 2024, they were number 1. They were first in the nation, Ohio State was, in scoring defense and total defense, just 12.2 points per game and 4.1 yards per game. At Oklahoma State, because, I mean, yeah, obviously people will say, look, it's Ohio State, look at the talent they have. This is where his defense is finished in 2021. His defense finished in 2021 at Ohio State, or at Oklahoma State.
Too many OSUs.
They finished top 10 nationally in yards per play, points per game, yards per game, sack percentage, and total sacks. They went 12-2, won the Big 12 title. They also pass interference the heck out of our receivers in the Bedlam game, but that doesn't matter. They ended up beating Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. So we talked about it with Arbuckle whenever he was hired. That kind of success isn't luck. When you have success like that and you can retain it over and over and over again, it shows that your system or whatever you have that is kind of your key, your like staple of whatever defensive system you're running. And again, I want to get my dad on here to talk about it one time, but it just works, right? If you have a system that you can implement and it's consistent, and that's the biggest thing whenever you're talking with kids or whenever you're especially going on the recruiting trail, no matter where he's gone, he's been successful. So no matter where he brings in players, they've ended up being really, really good and really, really good defenses. Now, one of the other considerations, and I guess the back and forth, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, does this change, if say we hire him, say he's the new defensive coordinator, does this change? How does this change your thoughts about the 2025 season? Right now, we're projected at 7 wins. If you hire him, interested maybe in your over-under on the 7 wins alone, but if we hire Jim Knowles, how does that change your outlook on 2025? Does it change your outlook?
The defensive side of the ball is not what I was worried
exactly.
about.
That's
so it really doesn't change my perspective now to an extent of like, I think in the way that Arbuckle did. And that's not a knock on Jim Knowles. It's just, I saw what we had on defense this year. And at the end of the day, we had Brent Venables as a head coach. So if we didn't even have a DC, part of me was like, all right, then BV's just taking over the defense. Arbuckle's offense, fine. That's kind of where I was. Not to say that I think it could be a great addition. Should that actually come to why can't I talk today?
It's good. It's long day for T. She had evals. She deals with kids. It's all good.
I've had 3 evals in 2 days, so it's a lot of paperwork and a lot of brain power.
And she's married to me, which
yeah,
actually probably more of a blessing than anything, if you would say. But not saying it's always great.
He's had long days too. So we haven't talked much the last 48 hours.
It's crazy. It really has.
We've been so tired. But for me, I feel like it doesn't change as much. Only thing is, I think, like you said, bringing Jim Knowles on. Someone BV could trust to take the defense, take those reins, so he doesn't have to feel like he has to maybe assert himself on that side of the ball as much. Let Arbuckle do what he does on offense, and then he can just focus on like the game management side of the ball, and like you mentioned, like being the head coach. Mm-hmm. And I think that could go a long way. So maybe we're not wasting timeouts or stuff like that. But
I know a lot. Like Steve says, no way Oklahoma outbids Ohio State. Knowles isn't leaving Columbus. This
Nobody
assumes.
says
Well,
outbid.
this assumes though that the. And again, if it's just about money, but this assumes that the deciding factor is money for Knowles. I mean, he's made 2.5 plus million the last 4 years. So there are other considerations. Money is obviously the one that everyone jumps to the most, or most quickly. But sometimes, say we're 200, 300,000 below Ohio State, but we offer him the ability to be with his family more. I mean, at some point when you're making $3.5 million a year,
what can you buy with $3 million?
Like 400,000 isn't going to make you that much.
3.5.
You ain't going to lose sleep over 400,000. You will lose sleep if your wife starts disliking you because you won't, move back home.
You will lose sleep if your wife sleeps elsewhere.
You also won't sleep with your. Well, never mind. There's a. But yeah, I just don't think money is the only consideration for a guy like Knowles. I really don't. I think if he comes to Oklahoma, it won't simply be because of money.
And we're married. If you didn't know that, we are married.
Yeah.
We're not. So if we were living apart, and Chad was offered a job where he could be home, but he didn't take it over money that's not going to make a difference in the end, like you mentioned.
For us, 400, 400, yeah.
Like 400,000. He's like, no, I make more money here. I'd be like, no, nope, that would not be.
No, you're right. And so I just don't think that's, I just don't think he's the deciding factor. But like you said, it's just, it's all relative. I remember we talked about this with Harden when he left for Houston. It was like, you're going to get 30 million from Oklahoma City. You're going to get 41 from Houston. It's like, dude, you're making 30 million, 11 million. You won't even realize it's gone. But it's just what it is. Kind of, it's a different thing. But I going back to that question about does it change your outlook on the? I'm with you. I think 100%. I'm not. Defense wasn't what was worrying me going into next year. Gave me cause for pause. It was the offense, and that's not news breaking. It's I think how mostly everyone felt, but having the ability, I guess, to have a coach that can come in and sees how those elite programs are run from a BV perspective, I think is monumental in and of itself in a different way than just him being a coach. He understands how those, how Ohio State runs their program, where we might be lacking in terms of talent development or wherever that might be in terms of spring ball, how we run our spring practices.
Right.
Maybe he can help with us being more healthy going into the season. There are other things that might be beneficial besides just being the coach, being the DC. So maybe that's another added benefit that he gives. If we end up hiring him, when he comes to Oklahoma. But other than that, those are kind of my main thoughts. I just don't think that personally if we don't get him and we hire a Wes Goodwin from Clemson, I'm fine with that. If we do get him, awesome. It's always good to have really good coaches. You're never going to go broke. You're never going to be bad having really good coaches everywhere. The linebacker coach needs to be, we need to get one regardless if we hire him or not.
And that's what, if you saw me looking down, that's what I was trying to look up. Because I know we have the Clemson, I can never say his name right.
James Skalski?
Thank you. I was like, I know his name is James, but I'm like Skalski,
yeah.
Smallski. I can't ever figure out the last name. I was checking to see if he was still on the staff because he was assistant linebackers coach. Of course, he is national champion at Clemson. So I was just seeing if he was still on staff just by chance. Someone said it was a wild statement. But I said about his wife. It was not serious. I really hope she would never,
joke, or
any wife would or husband would cheat if they were just separated.
But Skalski I think could run it, and then you have also, like several guys that could run it. Yeah, Billy Benton just said BB can still coach line. There's several things, and it's almost I think where some people have the holdup is, say you raise enough money to hire a Jim Knowles. Would you rather use that money on just getting more talented players out of the portal, or just saving it for whenever you have another negotiation going into next year? Does Jim Knowles coming here really change? And I'm trying to think beyond just this next year. Maybe if it's, I think he'll have insurance in that even if we have a bad year next year, BV's let go or whatever happens, whoever comes in next, I think is going to want Jim Knowles as their DC with how good he's been everywhere he has been.
Someone said,
but
isn't the defense losing key pieces to graduation?
No,
not
we're not.
really.
I think we have 9 returning starters next year.
Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman is leaving.
Yeah, maybe 8 with that. If you look at Ethan Downs being a starter, but no, you're not losing much at all actually, and you're getting more depth out of the portal that I didn't think we were going to get, which is nice. Our defense is going to be stacked.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it'll be really good next year. It's probably the most.
And our defense was already deep. Our defense was deep.
Yeah.
We were shifting guys in and out. Ask Tennessee. Apparently their coaches were like, oh man, they're got to be getting tired soon. We're going to see with their backups. And it turned out we had already been rotating several players deep. So yeah, it's exciting.
I remember like David Stone is going to be another year in the system. Jane Jackson obviously going to be there again. So it's I'm excited for the defense. I think it'll be good. Just a quick question here, and then we'll go to the NIL Xavier Lucas talk. How long do you think it'll take for the OL to get back to normal? That is all dependent on, first off, who is starting next year, who they have best, the injury history of that player, what kind of cuts and bruises they're dealing with, and what they are doing. I still think that there are some adjustments that can be made in the spring or in the fall camp, spring football time period, to where we're just not seeing the amount of people beat up that we are. Because I do think that's still abnormal. It does seem like every year for Oklahoma there is a issue with some of the guys having to say, hey, in game he'll be here by week 3, our guard will, or this guy will. I would love to have a year where we come in and we just have everybody healthy to play.
Yeah.
And that's been I mean, that happens, and some of that's unavoidable. I get that, but I'm just hoping that we can have a full squad that has gone through spring football together, relatively. I mean, I know you'll take plug and play pieces to see what work out, right, and fall ball all together. Been able to move forward that way, but
fall camp.
Yeah,
fall
for
balls.
sure. Piedmont Knowles.
Baseball, softball term.
Oh, that's cool, Corey. I didn't realize that.
Somebody said that
Piedmont.
Jim Knowles' fiance, where she lives, and that her son is the one that plays sports there. Oh, it's fiance.
Fiance. Oh, sorry. I think it's a girl.
Close enough. There's a ring.
Or wife. But anyways, yeah.
There's a ring.
Invest in Knowles because the players will bring with. Yeah, I mean, sure. If he can bring some guys with him, it'd be awesome.
Can you read that? Because they do strip our voices for podcasts.
What?
Can you actually read that?
Oh, invest. Who is Gunter says invest in Knowles. He's talking about Jim Knowles because he will bring players with him. And sure, I'm sure a couple of guys will want to come with him because of the relationship at Ohio State. I guess the thought is then, are those players good enough to make it good enough to make up for the money you're having to spend on Knowles, or can you get players adequate to that, similar to that level out of the portal and save that money and use it different? Maybe you can. I'm just guessing. I have no idea. If he's bringing guys with him, that's fantastic. But I'm just saying it's not like a make or break thing to me. That's my only thing. Now, if he brings Caleb Downs, it'd be more than worth it. But that'll be a tough one because Caleb Downs probably agrees to an NIL thing and then doesn't just leave his team high and dry. And that'll be interesting. But to talk about. So, any final thoughts on the Jim Knowles thing or?
Not until it does or doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. And
I feel like we've said what we've needed to say.
And it does seem weird that the only reason why I think there's a really good chance, and it does seem weird that we haven't had a move yet. We haven't really had a good call.
Sorry, I was reading a comment, and
I'm
like, that's
we're gonna have to hide them, and then we'll go back.
That's what they're in the business for.
We haven't had a good call or a good leak as to who was going to be the next DC. You're hearing kind of the smoke about Jim Knowles, and it's like, why has OU waited so long if it's not going to be the option, or if that's not a real option?
Right, and also people's like, why is OU waiting so long? Well, if your top choice and a choice that is possible is still playing football,
right?
There's only so much you could do.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could, put feelers out for others, but I don't know. It's interesting. It was interesting to see you so excited about it.
I couldn't believe. I was like, apparently this is actually a thing. And I've had some people that I trust that have come out and said, there's real interest on both sides there. And if there is, then again, if you can get him, you bring him in. He's a good great coach, and the more good coaches you have, the better your team's going to be. And obviously, you want that. So
unless you just have a bunch of scrubs.
Yeah,
which I don't think we do.
No, our defense is not going to be. Our defense is going to be, and I think our offense is going to be really good. I think our offense has a chance to. People don't understand how we were close to winning 9 games this year. If you just have a few snaps go the other way. If
you just have a functional average offense.
Yeah, I just I think that people are going to be really shocked when they see Oklahoma next year. And funny enough, you're starting to see some channels that I follow post is Oklahoma the sleeper team in the SEC. And I don't know if they ghost watch our show. I know for a fact some of the people that have these streams the other night that have all these websites ghost watch our show. which is fine. It's fine. It's fine. I don't, whatever. It's all good. Hey, look, we're here just to give information. I'm joking. I'm being facetious.
We give more opinions, I feel like.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. More opinions. That's a good cover by you. That's fantastic. Yeah. Your opinions. But when you just have all of our team healthy, you're going to be astronomically better on offense. You got a Mateer coming in who is going to be, who I think is going to be really, really good. It's why, they tweeted out this top 25 earlier, and I laughed because it's like, for some reason, Arch Manning is just considered like a Heisman Trophy contender already. I don't know why. There's no real reason to think that besides just potential. He played against Mississippi State and what's the other school?
UL Monroe, UTSA.
I don't know. Cool, I guess. I don't know, but the love for Arch Manning. I mean, Micah Hawkins has shown me more than Arch Manning. He's made more. He has had more big time playmaking. He's made more big plays than Arch Manning has. He just doesn't have the last name Manning, and he's also been exposed to things that Arch wasn't. He was thrown out in the deep sea by himself. By himself with one of his engines not working. It's a tough.
With one of his engines not working.
it's one of his.
That'd be your nightmare.
Oh my gosh, nothing scarier. Nothing scarier.
No, I don't know. Here's the thing: these way too early predictions and these, I don't care. People get so offended and up in arms. You being one that wants to argue over them,
Yeah, I think they're fun. I gotta realize though, some people on Twitter take arguments seriously, and I just think they're funny or fun. I don't have anxiety. Like people get like anxiety over. I just couldn't care. I argue about LeBron and Jordan a lot because it's a funny argument.
I am not a confrontational person.
Yeah.
Like unless it comes to my husband, my best friend, which really I don't know why my best friend can handle herself for sure. Like she's more confrontational than me.
She scares me.
My brother.
No.
And my parents. Essentially my family. Mm-hmm. Then I'll be confrontational. But other than that, I don't like to argue. I can. Mm-hmm. I don't like to argue, and I don't even when people call me the most awful things or just insult me online. I'm just like, all right, dude, have a good day. Mm-hmm. I try not to throw insults and stuff because people, like you said, do take it far too seriously, and it is insane to me. It's again, I can't do it. I don't like to argue. Yeah. No,
yeah. Okay.
That's why so many times now, if I say anything that's even remotely, I say confrontational, but remotely where I could just feel like people just want to attack it, I just mute it. Argue with yourself. Argue with yourself in the comments. If I say I don't like ice cream, and somebody's just gonna start on, I'm just like, and mute.
I'm not. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out who we all got. Someone asked who I think the wide receiver out of the portal is to look forward to the most. And if you're watching right now, I do apologize. I am trying to find my list of most exciting players to watch. I think it's going to be Arkansas Pine Bluff, the transfer, Gibson.
Gibson?
Yeah.
Another Gibson?
If you watch his film, he's got size. He's got great size, and he's quick. He's laterally quick, too, for how big he is. Which in football, the 40 time is cool. It's impressive. But really what you want in football is lateral quickness. Because there's not many times you're going to just have a sprint that's 40 yards. Really, you're running route concepts, you're blocking, you're pill blocking, whatever it is. So 40 times are cool, but the shuttle is more important to me. What you can do laterally is a bigger, I think, ability. I'd rather have a guy more laterally quick than just 40 speed down. That 40 speed straight away is really fast. Mm-hmm. New England Patriots had the same theory as well in how they drafted their receivers. They didn't have a lot of guys that were just besides the Randy Moss years, it was more of a Welker in them.
Similar in basketball.
You
just that quickness and agility is going to get you a lot further than just straight running.
100%. Yeah.